Okay, I'm going to do a video on how to diagnose the vacuum system on a F150 IWE system. There's two parts to it. There's a transfer case shift motor, and those don't fail too often at all. Early ones did, but 04 on we haven't really seen it, whereas the vacuum system seems to be the issue. So in the passenger side, right next to the battery, down in here, there's going to be a solenoid here, right next to the PCM. And in order to diagnose this, you don't even have to worry about the electrical part of it. What we're going to do is we're going to test this bottom line for vacuum. If you don't have a vacuum gauge, that's fine too. Okay, in diagnosing a Ford F150 IWE vacuum system, there's a few components you can test, even without a vacuum gauge or pump, and I'm going to show you how to do that. This whole manifold right here of vacuum lines came off the vacuum solenoid on the firewall that I just showed you that controls the IWEs. So pull it off of there, and its top line, that's the line that goes out to both sides of the front of the truck for the IWEs and feeds them vacuum, or doesn't, depending on what mode you got the 4x4 switch in. Its bottom one is what should have vacuum. Now what you can do is pull this off, engine running. This bottom one should have vacuum at all times as long as the engine's running. Okay? That's your first check to make sure you got vacuum to this solenoid so they can distribute it. Now what you can do without even having a vacuum gauge is you can pull this line off of your check valve here, and then take your check valve and stick it into the line that goes out to your IWEs. So at this point it has vacuum at all times, and when it has vacuum it's sucking that diaphragm of the IWE back in, and your front wheels should freewheel. So if you jack the front of your car up and then you spin your wheels with it just like this, engine running, your front wheels should freewheel. If you want to test to make sure your actuators down below have the ability to lock and mesh, pull this off. You can even have the truck off at this point. Pull this off. Separate them. Your car's still jacked up. You can spin the wheels, and now they should be locked into the front CV shafts, and be spinning those too. Those are the checks you need to do. If that is not happening, we need to delve in it even further. Now it's time to check out that solenoid. Obviously this one's new, and disconnect it for video purposes, the electrical connector. What you're going to want to do is connect the vacuum lines back up to that. The bottom one is the usual vacuum supply, but don't connect it to the top one. Get in the truck, start it up, have it in two-wheel drive, and there should be vacuum coming out of this top port. So make sure that's happening, and then put it in four-wheel drive. You know, cars in park, four-wheel drive, turn the switch, and then we should lose vacuum up here. And that way we can check the solenoid without ever getting a voltmeter out or a vacuum gauge. So if you just perform the test up top, as I just described, and when you have it in two-wheel drive, the fronts are not spinning freely, and if you have it in four-wheel drive, they are not locked. You need to come down here and do a little more investigating. You pull the vacuum line off and make sure that you're getting vacuum in two-wheel drive. At this big one right here, this big fat one right here. If you're getting vacuum, check the other side. This little one, don't worry about that. That's just a vent one. So we're concentrating on the big fat one on here. And if you're getting vacuum, and then you stick it onto here, fully back onto here, like it's supposed to be, and if you're getting vacuum, this shouldn't turn when you spin the tire. So if you're getting vacuum and it's still turning with the tire, then we know we got a problem with the wheel end, and we need to take it off and go through and look at it and most likely replace it. Be ready for that, as shown in my other video. But I just wanted to go over it real quick. You don't need a vacuum gauge or any special tools necessarily to do this in most situations, and if you do these few tests, you can really pinpoint where it's coming from and what the issue is and why it is or is not turning on properly at all times.